off all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night Starcraft. Who are you? I have no idea who you are. I'm just like, this totally sucks. This was back when he was part of Six Jacks, I believe. But anyways, we are gonna now officially start game 2, Gosuostojiy versus DaiSuki here on Cloud Kingdom, and this time DaiSuki is spawning on the top right-hand side of the map as the blue Zerg. Gosuostojiy spawning as the red Zerg on the bottom left-hand side of the map. This is mirrored, so top left versus bottom right, there shouldn't be too much of a difference. And what do you think we'll see in a Zerg versus Zerg here on Cloud Kingdom?
Well, I thought the players might have complained a little bit after that bit of a missed game or this regame, because Gosuostojiy had just placed down a 10 pool. So if somebody looked at the replay, they could have seen that, you know, that was going to be an early pool. So I wonder if he'll do the same thing. It looks like he is coming out with an Overlord before pool this time. So he was going to do an early pool in the last game. But it looks like he is going to be going for more standard, probably just 14-14 here. Not sure this is a map where it's quite safe to throw down a 15 hatch. The distance isn't that great. The rocks don't stop you from going right down the center of the map. So I imagine both players will do a variation of early pool gas, 14-14 probably.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think if Gosuostojiy did try to go for an early 10 pool, that would have been a little bit of a mistake, just because DaiSuki doesn't normally go for a 15 hatch, and you know, the walking time, even though it is a fairly small map, it still takes time to get there, and by the time you get there, drones plus queens, what's going to see Gosuostojiy is opening up with an early extractor pool here, I believe 13-14. Meanwhile, DaiSuki is actually going for a fast hatch, so I take it back.
It's rock paper scissors all over the place. If Gosuostojiy had done that 10 pool in the last game and DaiSuki went for this 15 hatch, then Gosuostojiy would have won. But instead, DaiSuki goes for this 15 hatch, probably has a little bit of an advantage over Gosuostojiy at this point, unless he's able to do damage with these early speedlings, if he can get some banelings in. And I'll be really interested to see when DaiSuki takes his gas, and whether he goes for a baneling nest before speed. A lot of times when you go for this early hatch, you see banelings at your front door a lot earlier than you have both speedlings and banelings for yourself. So sometimes players will throw down the baneling nest for defensive banelings earlier than speed, just try to defend and survive, and then speed kicks in a little bit later, and they should be safe in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, when you're just going for this earlier, faster hatchery, if you can play defensive, if you can let that hatchery start to pay for itself, it does set you up better in the later portions of the game. Taking a look at the harvester count, it is 17-16 right now. Zerglings are already making their way out onto the field, as we are seeing a 19 hatch coming in from Gosuostojiy, so it is not going to be any single hatch play, as Gosuostojiy does spot the 14 hatch has already gone down. I believe DaiSuki did spot that Overlord as well, and this is one of those things where I don't quite agree with the Overlord placement, just because early queens and both players have sight up onto the high ground rather quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you still want to see whether lings are streaming across the field, and you need to pump lings of your own, or whether you can safely drone. It looks like DaiSuki is going to be perhaps going for a spine crawler. There it is. And he's got to pump lings pretty much non-stop until he sees how many lings are coming from Gosuostojiy. DaiSuki does have the advantage. He's got the double hatchery. He's got 2 queens out already as well. And Gosuostojiyy's just got the 1 queen, a second on the way, and the second hatchery on the way as well. So he's got to take advantage of his earlier gas, but he's not doing that. He's got no baneling nest going down. Instead, we've got DaiSuki going for baneling nest before speed, like I said, so he's going to be very safe. Gosuostojiy already missed his timing with an early baneling nest, just now getting up his own, and he's going to be behind a little bit economically here. We've got DaiSuki going for some defensive banelings. He's got his queens in great position to block off the ramp, looking really good for DaiSuki at this point.
Yeah, we'll see what DaiSuki is going to do in a bit of a follow-up. You saw that Gosuostojiy, he missed his timing window, as you mentioned, and now he does have 3 drones back on gas. He wants to utilize those banelings. Harvester count is pretty even, though, so I don't really know who has the advantage. DaiSuki does have a slight larva advantage, but that can change with 1 baneling, as Zerglings are already making their way out across the field. Only 1 spine crawler here. It is going to protect the ramp just a little bit. Perhaps even a queen can sit there on the ramp, as Zerglings and banelings are going to battle it up. Baneling, a defensive baneling, as we mentioned, and we'll see what Gosuostojiy tries to do. He could start morphing in banelings as well.
Yeah, both players almost perfectly mirrored at this point. DaiSuki just did a round of drones. Gosuostojiy doing a round of drones. Gosuostojiy trying to get in here, take down a drone or two, trying to get up there, and usually leave a baneling at the top of that ramp to take down these Lings. Instead, Ling's going to be in the base of DaiSuki, taking down at least one drone here, getting valuable scouting information, seeing drones on gas, seeing the baneling nest up, which he knew obviously was there anyway, seeing that there's no lair yet, no second gas, so Gosuostojiy getting a lot of information, even getting a drone in that exchange. Both players continue to drone up, and it looks like DaiSuki going to be taking an early third. So will Gosuostojiy follow with his own third, or is he going to tech? At this point, neither player going for that lair tech. We do have DaiSuki getting down a roach warren, and both players just operating off the one gas.
All right, this is really strange. I don't know the last time I actually said a third base being established in this Zerg versus Zerg.
Yeah.
Gosuostojiy does have an Overlord right here in between the second and the third. It is spottable by DaiSuki, though, so a Queen could make its way over and snipe it down. Zerglings are now going to try to do a little bit of scouting of their own. It's going to get taken down. It's not... Oh, it does get up inside the main base. It sees the Roach Warren and an Evolution Chamber. It sees the second gas now being established up on the high ground. And Zerglings just doing beautiful, beautiful scouting information for each other, as we are so far neck and neck in terms of supply. But DaiSuki has a 43 drone to 35 drone advantage.
Yeah, we saw a big pump of Lings there from Gosuostojiy, so he's going to try to do some damage. We've got one baneling going down at the third of DaiSuki. He's going to try to deny this third, and if he can get a good surround, there it is. He might be able to focus down this hatchery before the banelings get in here. The banelings doing their best. Will Gosuostojiy force a cancel here? No cancel. It does go down. 300 minerals lost there by DaiSuki. A nice timing attack there by Gosuostojiy. Just not enough banelings and not in good position for DaiSuki, and now he's got a counter because the third is halfway done for Gosuostojiy.
All right, so third base is being denied on each side. Zerglings now trying to make their way over. The Zerglings are going to deal some damage here. There are 4 Zerglings going at it. So far, we do see another cancellation from DaiSuki, so both players just trying to get up on 3 bases, and this is going to be an interesting point, as both players are going to be perhaps trying to set up and go into Mutalisk. The only real reason to try to get this much gas early on in the game is for those Mutalisk. Hatchery already down to 300 some odd hit points. 200, is it going to fall? Damage is being dealt at 100 and 212 hit points. It is going to survive, and a couple transfusions that will be up and operational.
And DaiSuki does have his lair tech up. Lair not about a third of the way done for Gosuostojiy here, so DaiSuki is going to be able to get to roach speed a lot faster. He's already got on the way. He's already got level 1 attacks on the way. I think he made a little bit of a mistake trying to ferry those roaches across the field there. They were just sitting ducks to the roaches of Gosuostojiy, and also to the Lings that were coming back from that forward attack by Gosuostojiy. Still back and forth, 94 to 94. Both players even there. DaiSuki does have a little bit of a drone advantage, but that means he does not have the army advantage. And Gosuostojiy now has his own slow roaches pushing across the field again, and once again will deny this third. DaiSuki in a lot of trouble with that third denied. Not even canceled, so he's lost 675 minerals between kills and cancels on that third base, and more importantly, he's just down a base.
Yeah, 1,200 resources lost. That is huge at this point in the game, and 1,200 resources lost is about 1 minute behind right now. And things are not going to go well. DaiSuki does or should be getting Glio Reconstitution. He will have level 1 weapons upgrade, but at the same time as his opponent. So the only real difference is going to be whether or not these roaches can actually snipe down this hatchery. Here we go. Roach is trying to battle it up and now trying to get in position. It is going to get flanked, though, as Gosuostojiy comes in with a just superior number of roaches. The roaches are backing off. Glio Reconstitution kicking in just in time in order for those roaches to retreat. And now it's going to be a question of who can get 2-0 roaches much more efficiently, or who is going to transition into Mutalisk, as Mutalisk may be the key unit, as roaches cannot attack back, but then again, they don't deal that much damage either.
I think right now it's just going to be an economy game. Gosuostojiy has the 3 bases. DaiSuki throwing the Hail Mary a little bit, is trying to establish a third and fourth at the same time. That gives Gosuostojiy a big timing here, where his 2-2, or excuse me, his burrow and his speed are going to hit, and he's going to be able to pump roaches off these 3 bases and really punish DaiSuki for not canceling those 2 hatcheries and canceling the 1 other hatchery, not being on 3 bases. So these roaches for Gosuostojiy are going to own the next 2 or 3 minutes here, maybe the next 2 minutes or so, really giving him an opportunity to push in here. We do have infestation pit done for Gosuostojiy. Not quite done, or not even on the way yet for DaiSuki. So Gosuostojiy again has the tech advantage, he's got the army advantage, the economy advantage, but DaiSuki coming in here at this third, gonna try to snipe it down. That's huge at this point.
Yeah, a huge snipe now coming in. Roach is trying to retreat. They should be able to right now, as the Roaches, both sides moving about the same speed. Roaches are now backing off. It looks as though there's a lot of Roaches coming in from DaiSuki. DaiSuki somehow able to macro up 34 Roaches, but also Gosuostojiy also has 36, or yeah, 46 versus 34. Gosuostojiy with a higher number there. And where are these Roaches gonna go? Roach is gonna walk straight inside the base. There is one Spine Crawler. Roach is getting just sniped down here. The Spine Crawler does get taken down as more Roaches try to come back in. Who has the advantage? Gosuostojiy. Oh, there's the burrow. Beautiful play as the Roaches once again try to push in even further. No Zerglings coming down. DaiSuki with 15 Roaches. So the defender's advantage will be coming in just a moment, as we now see 2 Overseers. So Roaches are not going to be altogether that helpful.
Yeah, and we had an Overseer already on the field for Gosuostojiy, so DaiSuki, even though he does have Burrow, can't use it to his advantage, and DaiSuki with a nice, like you said, defender's advantage there, plus he was able to get a little bit of a surround on those units, but we've got Gosuostojiy, has Roaches in the natural of DaiSuki. If he can take down 5 or 6 drones here, it could even things up a little bit. Both players at 58 drones at this point. DaiSuki now has the army advantage. We see a Burrow there, really nice play by Gosuostojiy. He's splitting up his forces at this point. He's going to start harassing multiple points of attack. We've got 4 hatcheries down, 4 bases for DaiSuki. They're not quite saturated with drones yet, but he's got about a 30 food advantage. Gosuostojiy coming out with Infestors and level 1 Carapace. If he can get Infestors out before DaiSuki pushes, it could even things up.
Right, yeah, those Infestors will be key. It looks like we are now going into a Hydralisk then for DaiSuki, so we are going to have a little bit more range coming in as well. The Roaches are burrowing, both sides trying to use those very durable Roaches, try to regenerate some hit points there. They do, I believe, regenerate 5 hit points a second, almost, and then once you get into the burrow move, they actually regenerate faster than they deal damage. That's how effective their regeneration is, as Gosuostojiy is now setting up his own 4th base. So we are once again pretty even. 72 workers compared to 79, and I'm sorry, the red in the units tab, the red being on top and the Zerg being blue being on the bottom is just constantly confusing me.
Looks like Gosuostojiy going to try to put some pressure on this 4th base at the same time as DaiSuki is saturating it. So DaiSuki has about a 7 drone advantage. Gosuostojiy is poking at that 3rd base, but instead looks like, or that 4th base, instead going to pull back, and he shot ahead in terms of supply. Just as I say that, DaiSuki wrestles it right back. DaiSuki, both players basically maxed out at this point. DaiSuki going to try to take down some of the Roaches here, but in come the fungal growth, a huge fungal growth, so much damage. The Infestor's going to be able to get another one, perhaps, to get these retreating Roaches. Not as good that time. A better arc here for DaiSuki, as Gosuostojiy trying to come down a ramp, but DaiSuki has to burrow and heal up here. He's got to wait for his Hydras, and he's got to use those and spread out in a very thin line to really minimize the amount of damage those fungal growths are able to do.
Yeah, one thing I will note, though, is that DaiSuki now needs to get a little bit more creep out onto the field. Those Hydralisks are extremely slow, and he's actually going to benefit better from having creep than his opponent will. Hydralisk now trying to come in from the backside. They are a little bit slow. Here we go. There's the engagement. One Infestor accidentally walks in a little bit too far. There's an fungal growth hitting those Hydralisks there, but the Hydralisk with a range of 6 dealing so much damage coming in from behind. Gosuostojiy has really nowhere to run at this point, as the Roaches are picking off units left and right.
I really like that encounter for Gosuostojiy, though. He was able to use that fungal to really slow down the force coming from behind, so he's able to take on the smaller portions of army at once. He really traded well there compared to what could have happened, and he was able to save a few of the Infestors as well. He's got his own 4th up, and DaiSuki already in there looking to focus it down. I think that hatchery will go down, but DaiSuki probably going to lose his whole army for his effort. We do have the Infestors coming in here, so another fungal or 2 could do a lot of damage. There it is, but we've got DaiSuki with more and more Roaches coming in here. So far, the hatchery has not gone down, just a ton of Roaches, a ton of Hydras going down, and DaiSuki looks like he's wrestling ahead here. He's got 2-2 upgrades compared to 2-1 for Gosuostojiy, and this Hydra's worth their weight in the extra gas that they do require to do so much more damage than just plain old Roaches. And now DaiSuki will perhaps get that hatchery before getting out of here with a few Roaches, so took down the majority of the army of Gosuostojiy, as well as a hatchery. Great play there by DaiSuki. Alright,
so DaiSuki and Gosuostojiy battling it out. 4 bases now compared to 5, as we see DaiSuki taking up that 3 o'clock expansion. And things are really looking well for DaiSuki. DaiSuki really macroing things up. There is a macro hatch on both of these bases. So far, no tech to tier 3 coming in from DaiSuki, so there isn't going to be any 3-3 upgrades. Roaches and Infestors up against Roaches and Hydralisks, and DaiSuki's still not yet utilizing all of those creep tumors that he needs for those faster moving Hydralisks. They are constantly out of position, but they seem to arrive to the party just in time. Also, the advantage that DaiSuki has at being able to shoot down Overlords over his opponent, as DaiSuki has good Overlords spread, and meanwhile, Gosuostojiy has to put his Overlords out in a little bit more of a unsecure location.
Yeah, it looks like DaiSuki once again going to try to come in here, but 1 or 2 fungals could really slow down this attack. But great positioning by DaiSuki. You got a full line, very thinly spread out, so those fungals are not doing a ton of damage. He's got the Hydras on the high ground, able to shoot away. At the same time, the Roaches are tanking for them in the front, but it looks like Gosuostojiy with that defender's advantage, able to take down the majority of this army and taking down those valuable Hydras. It's so expensive to replace a ton of Hydras like this. When you do see you're losing, perhaps want to retreat, but like you said before, no creep here for DaiSuki. So those Hydras, once you're in, you're basically all in with those. And Gosuostojiy once again keeps those Infestors alive. Now wrestles back the supply lead 178 to 157. Now, I'll tell you credit, the first player that squeezes out or sneaks out a Greater Spire here, definitely going to win the game, as both players in these types of games just constantly focusing on trading and, building and macroing. And if you're able to surprise tech somebody with 4 or 5 Broodlords, they just definitely rip apart these army compositions both players have.
Yeah, the surprise Broodlords would be a just magical unit right now, but I don't think we're going to even get to that point. DaiSuki is now running back to his, I believe, his 3rd mining base now. The natural expansion pretty much almost mined out down to 4 mineral patches, only 20 minerals in some of them. And Overseers still all over in position. Let's take a look at the map viewing, I believe, or just the Overlord spread. Much, much better for DaiSuki. As DaiSuki is able to spot a little bit more on the field, and also the Overseers able to just constantly still fly around. There is going to be 1 queen here. The queen, unless you just... Oh, there's a corruption or contamination there to make sure that no additional larvae are produced. 1 Overseer may fall here as we have a large engagement. Hydras and Roaches once again battling it out.
And some great fungals there, sort of baiting DaiSuki a little bit, doing a ton of upfront damage before Gosuostojiy even committed there to the attack. But still, those Hydras do so much damage, 14 damage per attack, and they attack at 0.83 attack speed compared to those Roaches, which are 2 attack speed. So much faster, so much more DPS. And if you don't get great fungals, it just does not work out for the Infestor player.
All right, here we go. Hydralisk now trying to move in. The fungal growths are hitting, but they're only hitting the Roaches. Infested Terrans now coming in as well. Infested Swarm Eggs deal a lot of damage. Roaches and Hydralisk should just turn around. DaiSuki, what is he doing? He's going to lose all of these Hydralisks here. That is not a good engagement. Perhaps waiting for some reinforcing Roaches, and they do arrive. Infested Terrans with 2/2 upgrades do deal 10 damage per attack. Very, very powerful units here, as now we're going to see what DaiSuki and company can do. More Roaches trying to just simply walk by, and they're getting caught out of position once more.
Yep, actually DaiSuki lost his 3rd base there. As those attacks were going on, Gosuostojiy lost a lot of his army, but took down a mining base there for DaiSuki. So both players on 4 mining bases at this point, establishing their 5th. Gosuostojiy in the bottom right-hand corner, pretty vulnerable position compared to where his opponent has been expanding. As we have another big encounter coming in here, a nice fungal, 2 nice fungals coming in, and also with the help of this Spinecrawler, the DPS just might be too much here for DaiSuki. We've got actually more DaiSuki Roaches coming down here, trying to focus down those Infestors, but Gosuostojiy all game long has done a great job protecting these Infestors. He's up to 12 so far, and once you get that many fungal growth, it just does so much massive damage to the army of DaiSuki. DaiSuki down to 129 supply. He's going to have to macro up, but he's so short on minerals. Basically running on empty at this point. That might have been his last hurrah. 181 to 125. This back and forth game could be turning in Gosuostoji's favor.
Yeah, Gosuostojiy now taking that advantage. Those Infestors really worth their weight in gas right now. Roaches are now burrowed. They're going to get taken down. Infestors trying to run away. They're doing so very, very slowly as the Roaches are battling it up against more units there. There's some more fungal growths going down. The Infestor count still high enough to constantly throw down fungal growths every 15 seconds or so. And anytime you can trade energy for units, that is a good trade, as those infestors and fungal growths have really been the key into the game. And there is DaiSuki with the GG.
Yeah, I think a big key there was the fact that DaiSuki, in many encounters, it looked like he was coming out ahead, but he lost his Hydras every single time. Without the creep spread, they were never able to retreat. He basically pushed on it all in to do a lot of damage with them, but Gosuostojiy was able to keep those infestors alive, and by the end he was pumping infestors like crazy. He was up to 18, and if you're able to keep those alive, get out those fungals and get out the infested Terran, energy, like you said, traded for units is definitely a great trade for a player, very economical, and Gosuostojiy in the end was just able to use that tech, you know, and really smartly keeping the infestors alive.